Welcome back to the Real Estate Den. This is episode 24, and today we have our first episode of repeating guests. And of course, it's actually the first episode of our first guest too. So Cralynne's here on behalf of her husband and their new team and their brokerage. Sean and Jerry is back again. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's just hop right into it. Jerry, tell us what's been going on. What's new with you since we last spoke?
Yeah, so a couple different things. I have started a private equity company. We'll start there. Private equity company, mainly raising capital for investments, mostly in real estate, but some other ventures as well. So that's one big thing. And then getting ready to launch my own podcast along with my fiance, Sheena White. And it's called the Blue Collar Wealth Club Podcast. So we're mainly looking to work with blue collar business owners, or really any business owners would benefit from listening. But the goal is to teach people how to run a very scalable and profitable business, and then turn around and take those profits and use it to build generational wealth and passive income.
I love that. I think that's so exciting, and I can't wait to hear, when does it air?
So we have recorded the first 7 episodes. It's all in production right now, so we're hoping to launch here probably in the next couple weeks. So should hear it, sometime here in June 2024.
Great. We will make sure to get the link over to us, and we'll definitely have those in the show notes, because I think this will be airing when they're ready to check it out. So our listeners don't even have to wait. So
There you go.
we love that, because we're probably being listened to in America, and we love instant gratification. Don't even have to wait. Cralynne, tell us a little bit about you and your background, because we spoke with Sean before. So talk to us about who you are, what you do, and what area you serve.
Well, we live in South Georgia, or oh my goodness, North Georgia in the Southeast. We just opened our own real estate brokerage firm. I just got my license, my broker's license this year. I've been a real estate agent in New York for 3 years, and then we moved to Georgia. So I've been an agent in Georgia for 3 years, but previously we owned rental property since 2014. So we have the property management. We've been in and out of real estate for, I guess, now 10 years, I can't believe it's been that long. So it's been fun.
2014 doesn't feel like 10 years ago. Like I say
No,
that. Like,
not at all.
Yeah, that seems not fair.
and then you even go back before 2014 and you're like, oh my God, like how was that? Like I'm checking, like my brother turned 23 and his birthday is 2001. And I'm like, oh my God, like you don't even remember 9/11 anyway. So Jerry.
Yeah, I graduated in 2001, so
Yeah.
nice.
Kids are like driving and buying beer and stuff. Like it's just nuts to me. So you both work with your significant others. You're launching your podcast, Jerry, with your fiance, Cralynne, and Sean, do the real estate thing together. So let's kind of chat a little bit about that. What are some challenges that you maybe didn't foresee working with your SO? We'll start with Jerry.
I haven't had a lot of challenges. I think maybe more than anything, just coordinating schedules. She has a business that she's running that's very successful, and I have my business. We have children, we have house obligations, we have so just trying to coordinate times when we can do things together is one of the bigger challenges. But as far as working together, we've honestly, so far, it's been great.
I totally, yeah. I think it's hard because everything sort of bleeds together when you work with your spouse.
Yeah.
It's hard to have those boxes. Okay, now we're focusing on this. No, we're not painting the wall right now. Like these are the things we're kind of going through. Cralynne,
I was gonna say, Megan, you could probably relate to that a lot too with Kelly. Like you guys are like never not together,
Yeah.
We're ready for a witness situation. Just kidding. That's not why we do it. Cralynne, how has it been working with Sean? Because you guys have been doing this 10 years now, right? Together.
Yeah. So it's actually, him and I work very well together. And we actually started, so he used to be a truck driver and I was a stay-at-home mom, like when we had the kids really young. So I was working on the properties, like management wise. And so we have always worked well together. It's more so of relearning to live with him when he's home. And like having us both together at the table, working at the same time, kind of that aspect of it is a little hard, or more so of getting adjusted to each other, where it was a lot easier when he was out of the house almost, because it was like phone call, kind of that way. But we have always, like, in the work aspect, we have always worked really well together, and we feed off each other because we both think completely opposite. So there's constant like push and pull for each other kind of in the work realm.
I love that. I feel like you like your person if you can work together. Cause like I have been married before and it would have been a crime scene if I would have worked with any of my ex-spouses. So like
I feel I way. It seems like a much easier scenario, and that feels like a good indication, right, of where the
right.
relationship is at.
I totally agree. Cause yeah, cause I was trying to think as I said that question, I was like, man, challenges are hard. But I think the challenge, like we had said, is just because if you've got kids, you've got life, you've got house stuff. I mean, then how are hair breaks. And I think it's harder for two people who are doing life to sort of stay on topic. But once you do and you learn how to do that, I just think it's like, it's not even double as productive. You're almost like quadruple or more.
Yeah,
So
I feel that.
what inspired you to start your podcast, Jerry? And what made you choose you said the white collar, what is it called?
Called the Blue Collar Wealth Club.
Blue collar wealth club. Sorry, no, wrong collar. My bad.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's all right. I mean, honestly, the whole kind of concept was born. So I started my private equity company, with the idea that I wanted to raise capital for, larger real estate investments in particular, multifamily, maybe some industrial, maybe portfolios of short-term rentals, things like that. And as I'm trying to figure out the demographic that I want to serve, because there's a lot of people in that space, and most of them are chasing the same, doctors, dentists, lawyers, pilots, and working and watching my fiance work with her business. She is a fractional CFO, so she helps businesses to scale and become more profitable. And she has a background in owning a blue collar business. She had a concrete company that she owned previously, and so that's kind of the clientele that she works with best. And as we were talking, and we were talking in particular about one of her clients, who's a plumber, and in her second year of working with him, at the end of last year, end of 2023, he had done so well that he had a bunch of capital that he needed to do something with to avoid paying this massive amount of taxes. So that's really where I turned my thought process and said, well, there's nobody speaking to this demographic already. Blue collar work is where I was born. My dad's a mailman. My mom was a custodian. It's what I'm familiar with. It's what I'm comfortable with. And I feel like it's a whole demographic that is very underserved in the financial realm. Nobody's teaching these folks how to build wealth and how to, get passive income going for themselves. And, when you think about it, that's a big part of the country. A big part of the country is built on the hard work of blue collar workers. And it felt very important to me to kind of spread that message. I've always, since I've dove into the investment world, it felt very purposeful to serve that demographic, to teach people the tricks and the tips that the wealthy use to kind of build their wealth. And so it seemed very natural for me.
I love that. I love that, and I think that that's so great because you're right. There is nothing really speaking to that demographic, but like we wouldn't have our country or anything really without blue collar work. I mean, it encompasses so much of that. So that's awesome that you're able to provide that.
Yeah, and like I said, there was a lot of overlap, which then led us to wanting, we're speaking to the same audience. Why not, speak to them together? And so we had this idea. We both had wanted to do podcasts in the past, and so the idea is to just put a lot of knowledge out there, put a lot of value out there, let people listen, get to know us, get to know what we are about, and what we want to teach them. And over time, that business will come. But for now, it's just all about being out there to provide value.
I love that. So with you both working with your significant others, what are some ways that you guys do find ability or time in the day to sort of connect? Like, are you guys meeting daily, weekly, monthly? Like, how are you guys having your little powwows? Because communication, as we know, when you work with your significant other, is
So I guess I'll go first on that one.
Yeah.
So him and I don't see each other all day. So he'll go and work on the rentals or at the building or wherever, basically, whatever project we have going on. I typically stay at home or at the office with our daughters, and so we usually don't see each other very often. But when we do, a lot of the times, like, him and I will go outside. Like, if we need to work through something and we are together, we'll go outside and throw the football. And we kind of work through our, I don't want to say troubles, but like, daily challenges or certain things that come up and over that discussion. Or another thing, and this might be a little TMI, but we do shower together a lot, and we do talk about like our day or like what we have going on this week, like big events when it's literally just him and I, where it's quiet, there's no kids, like we're not being bothered, and we literally go through our business like, hey, what is on the schedule for today or this week, or what deals do we have going on? And that's basically what him and I, because we don't get a lot of date nights and we don't get a lot of, alone time to figure out what we need to work on. And even phone calls is more like, straight to the point. Hey, I need you to do this. But when we have that time alone, it definitely helps just, figure out what our plan is or what the next step is or what we need to do.
Love that. I think that's very cute. I think it might be, maybe some people think it's TMI. I'm pretty sure we're all aware what marriage do.
Right.
I don't know if it's too shocking. And back
Sounds normal.
yeah. Jerry, what about you?
We're kind of the opposite where we both technically work from home. I think Sheena's going to be getting an office here, and she'll have some space, especially for the summer, because we do have the kids, where she can step away because she has a lot of meetings that are, with a lot of information that's sensitive, or she does work with a lot of lawyers, so there are topics that have to be in a secure kind of setting. So she will have an office. She does travel here and there to go to some of her meetings, but we tend to be around each other all day, almost every day. And so a lot of our discussions happen while the kids are at school or after they go to bed, and we're talking about business and discussing strategies, whether it's marketing or whether it's just ideas we have for the podcast or whatever the case may be. We're kind of, whenever we find those pockets of time, that's when we're discussing it. And even on our date nights, I mean, sometimes we may be slightly workaholics, but when we're out together, we just enjoy talking about business, and we actually really enjoy what we do. So it makes it easy to just kind of bounce ideas off each other whenever those opportunities arise.
I totally get that. Yeah, those little pockets of the day, because I mean,
Right.
as I'm asking these questions, I'm like, man, these are hard questions, Megan. Like, chill. Awesome. So Cralynne, tell us a little bit about your brokerage and like kind of just what brought you to there, because I know that you had a home that you were super, super happy with brokerage wise, but then things shift and change, and about the new, because you guys have a new commercial building that you have purchased as well, right?
Yep. So last time when my husband was on, I know he did talk about our previous home, which was our previous brokerage. And unfortunately, we did see unfortunate events. Our broker had passed away, and that was very heartbreaking for us. And the way that the brokerage was run versus the way it was being run did not fit how we wanted to be. And I was about 2 to 3 months away from getting my broker's license. So we ended up breaking off and leaving. And it was hard. It was definitely a heartbreak, but we ended up leaving, and kind of out of that heartbreak, we grew together our own brokerage, and we realized what we want and what we don't want. So now what we have is, it's Modern Heart Realty. We literally just started so about 2 weeks ago, it just started. Like we just went live about 2 weeks ago. So it's literally been months and months of work just to finally have the doors open, and we are live and working. We have contracts under, and we are closing on our commercial building tomorrow, actually. Super excited. Which that property we're going to rehab. We're going to create our own office space. We are going to put it in as a co-work business. So we'll have other offices be able to come and use our office space. I don't know if y'all know what those are. They're very popular here. So that's something, like we'll have multiple avenues, and it's very exciting because it's all happened super fast, and it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like we're very, very excited. It's definitely
congratulations.
a dream come true. Thank you.
That was actually my next follow-up question was going to be, what are you doing with the space? So you're going to do some co-working stuff too? Because I really think the old brokerage model of like, let's have these really fancy, expensive offices for a group of people that rarely come into the office is kind of dying and is kind of dumb. Like, I think that's great to sort of like utilize the space in that way. And I think that's totally brilliant and definitely
Yep.
should.
So
Go ahead.
sorry, there's quite a few of them around us, but there's none in the city that we are opening the brokerage in. And we have actually had quite a few people come and tell us that they would be using the space for, conferences, or we're actually going to have a podcast room, or, hey, I just need a cubicle. So what we're going to do is we are having the front office space for us, for our agents, and, a conference room for us. But we're also going to be able to rent out smaller offices on the hourly or the daily, or a larger conference room, just because I do believe that the actual office space, they're not being rented. But if you have somebody who has kids who has 2 hours, and hey, I need to come and meet with this person, preferably not at a coffee shop where it's, because there's so many people there, that we can give that and give back to our community that way, and have them be able to come in and help.
I think that's great. I was just talking to Calixto about it the other day. I was like, I want to do a co-working space with a playground in the middle and a coffee bar. And he's like, "That's
Literally,
crazy." I'm
that
like,
would be
no, it
awesome.
would work. It would kill it. Like, because bring your kids to talk work and have a coffee, and then the kids can go play somewhere and do something. And
I know, I don't know if my husband mentioned last time, but we actually homeschool our girls. And one, to find a brokerage or an office space that allows kids in there is like nowhere, or not even heard of. And for us, being both in the business realm and our kids are with us 100% of the time, it's hard, where it's like, oh, I have to go meet this meeting. Sorry, kids. Like, you can't just do that. So what we want to be able to create is a family oriented space for single moms, or for people who have their kids with them, or somebody who wants to meet with them on a weekend who has their kids, or whatever the reason. We want to be able to involve that aspect of a family as well, because it's been hard on us and we don't want it to be hard on the next
I wish you were in Denver.
I feel like there's more of those spaces popping up because of that need. Like I mentioned, I mean, just for the summer, we're dealing with the same thing. We have kids in school. All of our kids are school age, but yeah, come summertime, we're left with the wolves for a few weeks here, and so we got to figure out how to run business and have our meetings and
Yep.
still be able to record our podcast. If I'm recording some episodes from home and not in the actual workspace, gotta find ways to make it happen, and that's always the challenge, and keep the kids entertained at the same time. So there's definitely a need for it.
And I've said this before too. I think that like kids should be more accepted in other places. Like, children grow up and become adults and need to do what we're doing now. So why they're sort of kept secret and far away from all of this is just, it always sort of, surprises me. Even this morning there's a chamber networking meeting that we go to every Thursday morning. And I pack a little bag, and my almost 2-year-old colors and has her stuffed animals, and she hangs out. Everybody's networking, and she's just there, and she's not perfect all the time. I totally can get where parents are like, my daughter could never do that. Yeah, she couldn't either. It was a learning curve. Like, I haven't attended 100% of all the events, but now that she's getting into it, okay, we're gonna go to work. You're gonna play. If you do good, you get a reward. You just, and I think that that's really important. Just, we had talked about previously too, that the wealth doesn't stay in families for generations. And I think a lot of that is because the children don't know how it gets there. If you're a kid and your parents are like moving from this like poverty wound, they're like, let me just buy everything. That kid doesn't understand what that parent had to do. The parent might tell a story, but if they're not actually seeing the work or looking at the time, I think it just hits a little bit differently too. Jerry, you guys have how many littles in your family?
So we have 3. They are now 13, 11, and 9. So a little bit older, a little bit easier to, keep them in line when we need to. And they're pretty good about understanding when we're busy in something important versus when we're busy and can be interrupted.
Negotiation power is a little bit stronger with a 9-year-old than a 2-year-old for sure. My 2-year-old
Absolutely.
like,
Yes.
that's great. Great. So Jerry, tell us a little bit about what we can expect on your upcoming podcast. Like, what you've said, you've done 7 episodes already. Like, what sort of guests have you had?
So far all the episodes we've recorded have all been just Sheena and I. One episode each, just kind of telling a little bit of our story and our background, discussing various topics. And as we're moving through here now, we're going to start bringing on guests. We're looking for guests who can come on and teach some best practices for business owners, different people who are involved in real estate investments in different capacities and telling us, how they got into investing and what strategies they like and why. The idea is we're teaching this demographic who has not been taught a lot of this stuff. So the idea is that we're kind of bringing them from the ground up. So we want to show the start. This is how this person got started. This is how, and try and take some of that learning curve away from somebody who's actually ready. Or, I know when I first learned about this stuff, it was kind of mind blowing to think that there was a way to invest where, if done right over the right amount of time, eventually money, whether you work or not, and your bills continue to get paid, even if the next day were to, get hit by a bus. I mean, that's always what we call it, the hit by a bus test. Can your business survive if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? And for most of us, that's no. And so we're trying to teach people how to build a business in such a way that they can do that, and then to build beyond that. So eventually, once you have all your bills paid every month without having to work, that's what, we call financial freedom. And that's where you get to choose your life from that point on, once you're not worried about getting bills paid.
Absolutely. Getting out from that survival to the thrive mindset.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's a lot of what you can expect. We're looking for people who are willing to hop on and give some good advice. We've got some good guests lined up already. A lot of people we've reached out to who are ready to speak. We're doing some collaborations with other groups. A lot of our education will be in the Facebook group, on the YouTube channel, but we've reached out with other similar speakers to similar audiences, and we're going to collaborate because there's just a need for it.
Right. I'll switch gears a little bit too to one of my favorite questions. If you know then what you knew now, what would you go back and tell yourself?
For me, that's pretty easy, and that's one of the questions that I plan on asking too. What's something you wish you knew sooner? For me, it was this whole concept of passive income. I think we have all been raised by a generation that taught us, time is money. You spend your time making money. You are paid hourly. You are paid, and that's how we've always looked at things. You go to college, you get a job, you put money away in a 401k, and your pension and your 401k will allow you to survive until it's time. And I think there's just a very different way of doing things where you can start a lot of this stuff a lot younger. And if I would have known this when I was coming out of high school into my college years and had actually acted on it, I mean, I would have been retired, 10 years ago, or at least retired in the sense that I could just do whatever I wanted to do at that point, and everything was taken care of. So yeah, that's the one thing I wish I knew sooner is how to build wealth, how to make your money make money for you.
That's great. Cralynne?
I don't know. That's a tricky question for myself. Like I feel like, to me, to know, like, I've always struggled with, I guess, I don't want to say like authority, but like I don't think I could ever put myself up on that high note and be like, I could be the boss. That was never my mentality. Where now my husband has literally just pushed me and pushed me, where I am the boss. Like, you can do it. Like, it's okay. You're able to be the boss. And it's very, like, I still wake up in the morning being like, I am the broker. Like, everybody has to come to me because that's my title. Like, I never saw myself like that. Like, I never had the confidence to do that. And now I do. And so I feel like I would go back and say, yes, you can do this. And you did do this, to myself, I feel like.
I love just the encouragement piece for sure. It's definitely different. I was in sales for 6 years, and then I've been in the managing broker space for now 4. And yeah, it's funny because like you think about that, and like we've had brokers that we haven't liked, and I've had a broker that I just absolutely adored. Yeah, it's funny once you sort of like climb there, you're like, like this wasn't as big of a thing, not that it's not an accomplishment, and obviously getting another license is great and all, but yeah, to sort of be there is really cool. And I really do love my role as a broker. I think it's very, very special to be the person that your agent goes to when they're trying to navigate their career, they're trying to figure out, just this whole industry that we don't have a lot of help extra with, like your broker as a
Yep.
realtor is everything.
Yep. Well, and even like the larger companies, they don't even have the phone number to their broker. Like, I don't know if like, large companies, they have a bunch of associate brokers, but then they have to call and get permission to talk to this broker. And it's like, I don't want that. I want my agents to know who I am. I want my agents to call me at 10 o'clock at night if they have a problem. Like, I want to be there for them because that's what I want. It's kind of nice knowing that I can do that and make that call.
I've called on like agents that I've had issues with before, just have like a broker call, and I've been like, yeah, I'm calling about so and so, and they go, who? I'm like, oh my God, this person sold 20 houses this year. Like, how? Like, aren't you supposed to
How
be
do
doing
you not know?
clients? And I think that just like that's the whole, and not to go into like I guess a hot debate or whatever, but like corporations shouldn't be in real estate to that degree. We shouldn't be having
No.
the industry run by a bunch of corporations' office policy manuals, because that's essentially what it is at that point. Because then you're the broker, but then you're delegating someone to look at contracts, and you're delegating someone to do your books. And while growth is amazing, and obviously I will be growing too, I'm not going to be able to wear all these hats at one point. But that the connection from the broker to the agent, I just think is so important. And I bet you if you took a poll of the most unhappy agents, they probably don't have a good relationship with their broker.
Hands down, I fully agree to that.
So
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to like me being able to call Megan whenever I need to, and she's so responsive, and like she'll send a text, she'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I had a missed call from you. I'm like, it was like 5 or 10 minutes ago, you're fine. As opposed to like my last coach, who literally, like, she wasn't even the broker, but I was supposed to be able to ask her any questions I had. And I was like, do you have some time? I have a question. Oh, here's a link to my calendar. And I scheduled a time at like 5 o'clock the next day. I'm like, I really wasn't going to take up that much of your time, but okay. I am just a number. And so it's a much different feeling.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be a balance there. I mean, obviously being on the lending side, I've worked with a lot of real estate agents, and I can tell you the stories I've heard from one broker to the next, or when we've had issues where we've had to be in contact with the broker. And it's a very big difference. It's a very big difference in how your brokerage is perceived in the world and how your agents present themselves to others when they're asked about how they like where they work. So you guys are spot on. It's 100%. It's very important for the broker to keep that balance between growth and feeling like they're an integral part of their own business.
You're in your lending practice, you're kind of on your own, right? You don't have any,
Yeah, so I'm independent. I have some kind of newbies that are kind of underneath me who reach out to me when they have questions, things like that. But yeah, I've worked in every capacity. I've managed a team, I've been on a team, I've worked high volume accounts. I've worked independently where I'm just kind of, taking the loans that come in the door. I've kind of been around the block and done all those different things. So I've seen a lot of different situations on that side as well.
And there's just that because there isn't a ton of oversight, I think, in this industry, that there are a lot of different ways for brokers to go. And are like things like Calendly and like these other systems, they're useful for business, but they're not useful if you're losing the connection. Like our clients choose us because of our interpersonal connection. Our agents choose our brokers based on their interpersonal connection.
Yep.
I don't have a huge team, but I have like no turnover. And I really do truly like love and care for my agents. Like, people ask me for my friends, and I look at my agent employer list from door. I'm like, these are like I feel like Michael Scott was like, that's just like honestly, like I love my agents and love the opportunity to help them. And I know that, not to bash bigger companies or whatever, but I just don't think that someone who's getting a salaried position, you know what I mean, cares enough about like a small broker who's like, oh my God, like when you put your listing sign in the yard, that's my logo. And when you write your contract, that's my address. Like that is like so huge and empowering. And I think that does make a long way. Some people really enjoy the bigger structure. They feel like having those bigger, brands and stuff associated with them helps bring them more money. And if that works for you, great. But I'm very much of the, like I said, that sort of interpersonal connection, which I love that about here too. Cralynne, what is something you're going to do different at your brokerage now that you are the boss lady, that you think is a little bit different, other than the co-working space? I guess you could.
Yep. So we're going to do the co-working space, but so where we are, there's a lot of regular real estate agents. We're going to incorporate the family aspect, which I kind of already touched on. But there's something also that we have a handful of unicorn agents. And when I say that, we are also going to be doing wholesaling. And it's a huge like hush where it's like you don't have to have a license to wholesale, but we still want to be able to help our clients. So the question came up to me is like, how are you going to do the new with the, with the whole NAR aspect and, your clients and stuff? Well, if we have a client who can't who can't, pay us this way, well, maybe we can talk about wholesaling their property and figuring out and paying cash and seeing if we can help it that way. And just more of like the creative financing side where, again, I feel like it's a little more taboo or it's more on the hush side just because not everybody is doing that. So as our office, we're going to have real estate agents under the brokerage, and we're also going to have non-real estate agents as wholesalers, and we're all going to kind of work together.
I think that's great. That's a really, I haven't even thought about that. And that's just a very, and I feel like a lot of times wholesalers and agents are sort of at odds, which I don't necessarily agree with. We've had a bunch of wholesalers on the podcast as guests as well. Real estate's an amazing industry. People can get into it with a license, without a license, in many different aspects. Like that's the whole point of the show. But that's exciting. Jerry, what are you going to do on your podcast that you think is a little bit different than other podcasts?
I mean, starting with the target audience, like I said, I think everyone else in the capital raising space and raising capital for large investment deals is targeting the same people. They're looking for these high net worth individuals where doctors, dentists, lawyers, pilots, same old group. Where what we found, and honestly, we've actually faced some resistance on this, where we have had people, well, do those people even listen to podcasts? Or they don't look at a plumber the same way that they look at a dentist. When I know some plumbers, some roofers, who these guys are making multiple six figures, if not seven figures. And, there's a lot of really high net worth individuals in that space, but there's a whole level of people who think that they're above those people. And so just speaking to these guys and saying, look, you're on par with a lot. I mean, I know a lot of lawyers who make a lot less money than a lot of plumbers. And so just knowing that we're speaking to a demographic and teaching a whole different, sector. I mean, if I'm looking at my big, large, big, hairy, audacious goals, is to really help re-strengthen that middle class, because that's where this country needs the most strengthening right now, I feel. And that's how we do it. It's education. I mean, a lot of these guys have the capacity to do this, but most of these guys know a skill, they know a trade, and they're not business people, but they are skilled people with a skill who started a business and have had to kind of learn by doing and trial and error. And so the whole goal with this is to take that learning curve, shave it down, help them build a business that's repeatable, scalable, saleable, and and then turn that into the type of wealth that they thought wasn't accessible to them.
Reminds me of a lot of the E-Myth, what you're talking about. Just really
100%. Yeah.
Just switching that mindset from this is what I've created to like actually building a business. Perfect. And I think that's so great and so needed. And I'm so excited to hear about it. Or hear it when it comes out. My last question, other than give me your socials, is what are you doing in the morning? I always like to ask about morning routines, and are you still doing what you were doing before? Is it a little bit different? I know life changes and things shift, so tell me about your morning rituals right now.
I mean, my morning routine is probably not that exciting. It's waking children up, getting them ready for school, feeding dogs, making sure they go outside, use the bathroom, and
All
then
important.
yes, all these are all the normal everyday, yeah. And then the days that I'm better, I'm getting a workout in, having some breakfast, and while I'm doing those things, I'm usually listening to either a podcast or I'm listening to some form of education, whether it's a book, podcast, a training. Try to constantly be doing those things whenever I can, so we're constantly building.
Great. Cralynne, what do your mornings look like?
It's a mess. So I'm not a morning person by any means. but my husband and both my daughters are. So
You're outnumbered.
yes, I am. Coffee is, first and foremost. But we used to actually get up super early, over, I don't say like over the winter, but maybe like November, December, January. And we did an ice bath, and my husband loved it. But now that it's got warmer out, things have kind of changed a little bit. We stopped doing that. And I think we'll go back into it, but right now, summer in Georgia, it's super hot. So, maybe in the fall time we'll hit that again. But realistically, I kind of already said it, but when my husband and I are home together and in the mornings we, need to plan out our day, let's go shower. Like that's, and we just kind of figure it out from there. But that's definitely one of our morning rituals when we're both home at the same time in the mornings.
Incorporating water, it's got to be like, come on, who doesn't want to hop in an ice bath, hop in a shower? You just touch in the water in the morning to revigorate yourself. Great. Jerry, where can our listeners find you and connect with you if they want to continue this conversation?
I think right now the best place to find me is to join our Facebook group. It's called Blue Collar Wealth Club, just like the podcast. We'll be plugging a lot of what we do in there, as well as some additional stuff, and trainings, challenges. We're building a community to be our warriors and to be our megaphones for what we do and who we do it for, to really be our advocates and hopefully learn a lot along the way.
Great. I love that. Cralynne, where can we find you?
If you want to hit up our Facebook page, it's newly new. Literally, it's only a couple weeks old. But that's Modern Heart Realty, and heart is in like your organ in your chest, HEART. And kind of or my personal one is at Cralynne Heart Real Estate for Facebook or Instagram.
Great. And we'll have all these linked in the show notes. Thank you again for joining us today, and coming back, especially this has been awesome. A little check-in episode. Things have happened so quickly for both of you, and I'm so glad you chatted with me about it today. We will see you next time, and thank you so much.